come with me to do a free clean on this bathroom. And this one here, we are going to call the Polar Pop bathroom. Because aside from having a wee bit of a mold problem, there were 21 Polar Pops in here, hey? And I'm not knocking them now, okay? Because for 89 cents each, I get it. And some of the black stuff that you're going to see on the floor and on the sink today are actually ashes. But since there is a lot of mold, I'm going to be wearing this hazmat suit, a mask, the gloves, all the PPE. And then, before I get into actually cleaning anything, I'm just going around picking everything up off the floor. And since everything's been sitting here collecting mold, I am throwing away every single thing that's on the ground today. And before I got here today, this client did unfortunately let me know that this bathroom has not been able to be used for months. So my two biggest goals for today are to make this bathroom usable again and to make it more safe to use. I'm not a mold expert now, okay? So they are going to have to let their landlord know and have somebody take care of the mold problem at the source. But for today, we're just doing what we can. So I go ahead and I apply the product to the shower and the toilet while I go ahead and start cleaning this sink area. Before I get into actually disinfecting anything, I'm just going around spraying everything down with the Castle 5-in-1, giving it a good scrub, rinsing it off, drying it down. And then I'm going through with that Zep disinfectant and I'm spraying the surface down, letting it sit for a few minutes before wiping it off. And I can already hear the comments now, so I do want to talk to you guys about mental health and how it can impact somebody's space getting and looking like this. And I know, some people are going to say, I'm tired of people using mental health for an excuse, or depression isn't an excuse for a space looking like this. And you're right, depression isn't an excuse. It's an actual mental illness. And it's one that can impact somebody's life in a lot of different ways. Their energy, their motivation, stress levels, and their basic self-care. If you just so happen to be new here, my name is Tony. I own Tony's Cleaning Co. and I travel around doing free cleans for people in need. And I also have a degree in social work. So from a social work standpoint, I also want to talk to you about executive dysfunction. Now, executive dysfunction is that gap between knowing what needs to be done and actually being able to do it. And when it's paired with something like depression, trauma, grief, or even just prolonged stress, somebody's environment can start to mirror their mental state. And contrary to what some people believe, that gap does not come from laziness. It comes from the way that your brain processes motivation, reward, and stress. Whenever somebody's living with severe depression or trauma, the brain's reward system, the dopamine circuit, isn't firing the way that it should. Those little cleaning tasks that used to give a little sense of relief, well, they just don't anymore, okay? So instead of somebody's brain saying, hey, cleaning this up will make you feel a little bit better, it looks at the mess and says, what's the point? Because honestly, whenever a room gets to this point and somebody comes in and looks at it and they're already going through a lot mentally, they can take one look and say, holy cow, where do I even start? And that feeling of being overwhelmed when you look at it can make it 10 times harder to ever start in the first place. And unfortunately, that is where shame comes into play. When somebody knows what needs to be done, they can't bring themselves to do it, and then the internal guilt that they feel makes the situation 10 times worse. So yeah, I say all that to say that whenever I'm doing a clean like this, I never walk in and think, oh my gosh, they're so gross or so nasty, but instead I think, what are you going through? Because you know that old saying that you can tell a lot by somebody just by looking at their shoes? You can also tell a lot about what somebody's going through just by going into their house. And that's why with life in general, but especially when providing cleans like this, it is so important to meet clients where they're at and not where we think they should be. Because for me, I'm having a great time. This is fun, okay? But for somebody who's struggling, this can seem like an impossible task. And thinking about how impossible it feels just makes it all the easier to shut the door and never come in here. And don't get me wrong, I do understand this stuff because I have a background in social work, but I also understand it because I've been there myself. If you follow me, then you already know this, but I have struggled with my mental health for most of my life. I had a really unstable childhood, and I went through a few traumatic things that no kid should ever have to go through. And I was in that environment for a really long time, so I honestly didn't start to process this stuff or work through it until I was in my late teens and early 20s. And if I can be so transparent with you guys for a second, it was actually an inpatient hospitalization that kickstarted my mental health journey. So I know that I come on here and I advocate and talk about mental health, and to some people it may seem like I have it all together, but trust me when I say I don't. Now, present day, things are a lot better, but I have been in therapy, inpatient programs, outpatient programs, medications, the whole 9 yards. And I know what it's like to hold on to negative feelings, trauma from abuse, and so many things that can impact who you are as a person. And not only who you are, but the environment around you. And I also know what it's like and know the power of having just one person there for you. Whenever you are in your deepest, darkest moments and you have just one person show up to remind you that you are important in the world. I've always been a big believer that we all have a purpose on this earth. We're all here for a reason, and we need people in our lives who remind us of that. And I know just as well as the next person that it can be easy to forget that. So if you needed to hear it, here's your reminder that you do have a purpose. You're here for a reason, and you do matter. And I also want to throw out a little reminder to anybody who may be struggling that it's okay to reach out for help. Because I think it's safe to say that there's a point in everybody's life where they have to reach out to somebody for support, and that's okay. So yeah, I hope that wasn't too sentimental, and if it was, well, oh well, I done said it. So shout out to this client for being brave enough to reach out for help. If you aren't already, give me a follow, and as always, I'll see y'all next time. Love you. Bye.